Some places were never meant to be lived in. Some doors were never meant to be opened. We didn't know that when we moved in. We thought we were just renting a house, but we had stepped into something older, darker, and waiting. It was just me, my mom, and our dog. The house was modest but charming, a semi-detached rental on a quiet street. For the first 3 days, we stayed up late, unpacking, organizing, trying to make it feel like home. At night, my mom's closet door wouldn't close because her clothes were hanging over it. My own bedroom door stayed slightly open, just the way I liked it. The house felt normal, until the 4th night. That's when everything changed. That night, for the first time, my mom's closet door shut completely. We had finally finished assembling her wardrobe, putting her clothes away. At 12:45 a.m., I climbed into bed. I heard my mom's door close, her bed creak as she lay down. I was just about to drift off when, "Woo!" a breathy whisper right against my ear. I felt it, not just the sound, but the warm air brushing against my skin. My entire body went rigid. My eyes snapped open. I lay there, frozen in the dark, heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. Someone was in the room with me. I forced myself to move and bolted out of bed. I ran straight to my mom's room, tears already in my eyes. I was never the type of kid to cry over nightmares. This wasn't a nightmare. This was real. And the moment I told her what happened, I saw it in her face. She had heard it too. My mom tried to brush it off. "It's just the pipes," she said. "New house, new sounds. You're just not used to it yet." But her eyes betrayed her. She was lying, not to me, but to herself. Still, she tried to convince me to go back to my room. I refused, and that was strange, because I always did what I was told. But not this time, because something inside me whispered, "Don't go back in there." She sighed and let me stay in her bed, but neither of us slept well. The air in the house felt wrong now, like it was watching us, like it was waiting. The next day, my uncle came to visit. When we told him what happened, he laughed. "You were probably just exhausted from the move," he said. "I'll prove it. I'll sleep in that room tonight." And that's when the second night of terror began. That night, at 12:45 a.m., we all went to bed. My uncle settled into my old room, leaving the door slightly open. We heard him strumming his guitar, the soft sound drifting through the walls. It felt almost normal. Almost. Then, a sound. Low. Guttural. Choking. It started at the bottom of the stairs and rose upward. 3 long, rattling wails, each one worse than the last, like something was trying to scream, but its throat was too mangled, too broken to make the sound properly. My mom and I froze in bed. The sound had been so clear, so real that she whispered, "It's just your uncle trying to scare you." But I could tell she didn't believe it. Then, footsteps, slow, careful, crossing the landing, coming toward our door. A soft knock. Mom and I barely breathed. "Come in," she called. The door creaked open, and there stood my uncle. His face was ashen, his eyes wide, and when he spoke, his voice shook with fear. "Was that one of you?" My mother's face went pale. "I thought it was you," she whispered. My uncle shook his head. His hands were trembling. "That wasn't funny," he said. "If you were trying to scare me." "We weren't," I whispered. The words hung in the air, thick and suffocating. None of us wanted to say it out loud. That meant we had to admit it. That meant we had to accept it. Something else was in the house. Something that could whisper in the dark. Something that could howl on the stairs. Something that wanted us to hear it. My uncle didn't go back to my room. He dragged my mattress out and laid it on the floor beside my mother's bed. That night, all 3 of us slept in the same room, and none of us closed our eyes. The next morning, we made a decision. This wasn't normal. This wasn't just a house settling or pipes groaning in the walls. Something was here, and it didn't want to leave. My mother had seen a psychic earlier that year. She called her that afternoon. The woman arrived before sundown, bringing a friend with her. The moment she stepped inside, she froze. She stood there, silent, eyes moving across the walls like she was reading something we couldn't see. Then she spoke. "There's more than one presence here." A chill ran down my spine. She turned to me. "You've seen her, haven't you?" "Who?" I asked, though I already knew. "The little girl," she said. "She's been watching you." I felt my throat go dry. A little girl? I had never seen anything, but I had felt it. That awful sensation of being watched, that prickling on the back of my neck when I was alone, that feeling that if I turned too quickly, I might catch a glimpse of something standing in the corner. The psychic nodded, as if she already knew my answer. "She means no harm," she said. "She's drawn to you, but..." She turned to my mother. "There's something else here." The air in the house shifted. Heavier, colder. Something stirred in the silence, and then the psychic whispered, "There's a portal in this house." "A portal?" my mother repeated. The psychic nodded. "A doorway between the spirit world and ours." My stomach twisted. "How did it get here?" I asked. The psychic closed her eyes, standing completely still. Then she inhaled sharply, like she had just seen something. She turned to me and my mother. "It wasn't you who opened it." Then her eyes flicked toward the wall that connected our house to the neighbors. It was the boy next door. A chill ran through me. The boy in black, the one who wore the pendulum around his neck, the one whose family never seemed to sleep, and the one who had moved out suddenly, right after we arrived. He was playing with something, the psychic murmured. A board, a ritual, something he didn't understand. I swallowed hard. "And now?" I asked. She turned to me. "Now anything can come through." A cold pressure settled over my chest. Something had come through. Something that whispered in the dark. Something that howled on the stairs. And it wasn't just a spirit. It was something angry. Something that had died horribly. And it thought we were the ones who did it. The psychic looked at me, at my mother, at the ceiling above us. Then she whispered, "He's here." A deep, shuddering cold filled the room. The air thickened, pressing down on my skin like something unseen was wrapping around me. Then, a sound. Low, rattling, like someone struggling to breathe. It was coming from upstairs, from my old bedroom. The psychic turned to us. "We need to send him back." And for the first time, I wasn't sure if we could. The ritual begins. We gathered in my old bedroom. The psychic poured a ring of sea salt around us, leaving only a small opening in the center of the floor. She lit sage, letting the smoke coil through the air. The room felt tighter now, like something unseen was pressing in on us. The psychic's voice was steady. "We're going to guide the spirits through," she said. "But whatever happens, do not break the circle." I nodded, though my hands were already clammy with sweat. The air turned ice cold. The candle flames flickered wildly, though there was no wind. Then, something shifted in the shadows, and we weren't alone anymore. The air crackled with unseen energy. It felt alive, like something watching, waiting, circling us. The psychic closed her eyes and whispered, "Little one, you can go now." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, a shift in the air, a strange, weightless feeling, like something lifting away. My hand tingled with ice. For just a second, it felt like fingers brushed against mine. Gentle, small. Then, the sensation was gone. The little girl had crossed over, but the air didn't get lighter. It got heavier, because the other presence, it was still here, and it was angry. The room shook. The air pressed against my chest, heavy, suffocating, like something unseen was pushing down on us. The psychic's voice hardened. "You have to move on," she commanded. "Your time here is over." For a moment, the room went still. Then, a shadow twisted in the corner, pulling at the darkness. The temperature dropped so fast my breath came out in a white mist, and then the presence disappeared. The psychic let out a slow breath. "He's gone," she said, but something in me knew she was wrong. The air still felt wrong. Then, a loud crash from the hallway. I turned to the psychic, my voice shaking. "He's still here." The crash echoed through the hallway. Then, silence. The psychic's expression darkened. "He's playing with us." I swallowed hard. "Why won't he leave?" my mother whispered. The psychic turned to her. "He doesn't want to go. He's found a way to stay." A wave of dread rolled through me. The spirit had pretended to leave. It had hidden itself somewhere else in the house. It was waiting, and we had just made a terrible mistake. We had opened the door for it. The air grew thick, pressing against my skin like something unseen was wrapping around me. The psychic's hands clenched into fists. "He's hiding," she whispered. Then, a deep rattling sound filled the room. Not a growl, not a breath, a choking, like someone struggling to breathe. The temperature plunged. My mother gasped, clutching her arms. The psychic turned sharply, her eyes locked on a dark corner of the room. "He's still here." Then, a shadow moved, not across the walls, across the floor, crawling, rising, taking shape. Something half-formed, twisted, broken, a shape that shouldn't exist. And then, the shadow lunged. The darkness swirled, stretching along the floor, coiling up the walls like living smoke. Then, a sound, low, guttural, broken. A choking, gurgling rasp. The sound of a man dying. Then from the shadows, a voice. "You did this to me." The voice rattled through the room, thick, wet, like someone gasping for air through a ruined throat. "You did this to me." I pressed myself against the floor, my chest heaving. "We didn't do anything to you," my mother cried. The shadows twisted. The air felt wrong, like it was alive, pressing against my skin, trying to drag me down. The psychic raised a shaking hand. "He thinks this is where he died," she whispered. I shuddered. Somehow I already knew. The spirit wasn't haunting the house. It was haunting the moment of its death. And it thought we were the ones who killed him. The shadow swirled, thick and heavy, pressing against my skin like 1,000 unseen hands. The voice rattled through the room again. "You did this to me." The psychic's voice was sharp. "He's stuck," she said. "He doesn't know he's dead." The temperature plunged. My breath came out in white clouds, and then the floorboards beneath us shook. The psychic gritted her teeth. "We have to make him cross over. Now." She threw a handful of salt into the swirling darkness. The spirit screamed. A sound that wasn't human, that never had been. The walls rattled. The shadows stretched toward us. And then, suddenly, something grabbed my ankle, cold, so cold, and pulling me under. Ice shot up my leg. I was sinking, not into the floor, into something deeper, darker, a place that shouldn't exist. He screamed, kicking wildly, but the grip was unrelenting, like a vice of dead fingers wrapped around my ankle. The psychic's voice rang out, "Let go off him!" A blinding flash of light erupted in the room. The pressure vanished. I gasped, stumbling backward, clutching my ankle. The shadows shrank back, twisting, writhing, clinging to the corners of the room. But they weren't gone. Not yet. The spirit was still here, still fighting to stay. And then, it spoke again. "You can't make me leave." The floor shook violently. The air rippled with something unseen. And then the psychic whispered, "We'll see about that." The walls shook. The air crackled with unseen energy, thick as static before a storm. The psychic raised both hands, her voice ringing through the house. "You do not belong here." A howling wind exploded from the shadows, slamming into us like a wave. The candle flames died instantly. The room plunged into darkness. Then, the choking voice rose again. "You can't make me leave." A shape twisted in the shadows, half-formed, writhing. A figure of contorted limbs, sunken eyes, a mouth stretched too wide in a silent scream. The psychic threw another handful of salt. The shape recoiled, thrashing. Its screech tore through the walls, shaking the very foundation of the house. "Archangel Michael, cast this spirit into the light," the psychic shouted. The air rippled. The shape convulsed, twisting violently. And then, a blinding burst of white light exploded outward. I squeezed my eyes shut. A sound like rushing wind, like 1,000 voices screaming at once. And then, silence. The air was still. The room was empty, and the house, for the first time since we moved in, felt normal. The spirit was gone. The silence felt too deep, like the house itself was holding its breath. I opened my eyes. The shadows were still. The room no longer felt tight and suffocating, but a heavy weight sat on my chest. A feeling that even though he was gone, something remained. The psychic let out a slow breath. "It's over," she whispered. But her voice wasn't steady. She didn't sound relieved. She sounded uncertain, like something about this didn't feel right. My mother sat down on the edge of the bed, rubbing her arms. The room was still cold, not freezing, but cold, like the house hadn't quite let go of what had happened. Then the psychic turned to me, and what she said next sent a deep, twisting chill through my bones. "The portal is still open, a doorway between worlds, and anyone or anything could step through." The psychic's face was pale. "If we don't close it," she whispered, "something worse could come through." My stomach twisted. Worse? I didn't want to know what that meant. The psychic and her friend acted quickly. They drew symbols in salt, sealing every corner of the room. They chanted prayers, their voices steady and commanding. The air around us shifted, like a door slowly swinging shut. Then, a deep pressure filled the room, pressing against my skin, my bones, my mind. For one terrifying moment, it felt like something was pushing back, like it didn't want to be locked out. Then, it was gone. A sudden stillness. A feeling like a door had clicked shut. The psychic sighed in relief. "It's done," she said. The portal was closed. For the first time in weeks, the house felt empty. Not in a hollow, haunted way, but in a peaceful way. My mother gripped my hand. We both knew we weren't staying here. We moved out within the month. The house stood silent behind us. Just another home on a quiet street. No one would ever know what had happened there. But I still wonder, did the boy next door know what he had done? Did he know he had ripped open something that shouldn't be touched? And most of all, if he had done it once, could he do it again?